What does effective, equitable sex education look like in today's school systems?
Well, in today's school system, honey, like 2025? Oh, geez. In an ideal world, in a utopia, right? All identities would feel welcome. It will be a space where there is no dumb question. Questions are answered. Information is age and stage appropriate as well as culturally relevant. And when I say culturally relevant, the content reflects the populations in which it is serving, and oftentimes in sex ed we don't see that. The information would be inclusive of a variety of topics, and it would be sequential, and so it would start as young as pre-K and work all the way up to 12. Unfortunately, in most places in the United States, you might get puberty education where unfortunately they're still separating the boys and the girls. Highly problematic, right? Because then you create a world in which boys are not comfortable talking to girls about bodies, right? So that young man may not be comfortable talking to his mom about his body. Where does that non-binary child go? It's just so problematic for a lot of different reasons. But young people may get one lesson in fifth grade about periods and nocturnal emissions, and then we get a class in middle school. And then by ninth grade, we give them 6 weeks to learn everything about their bodies, and then that's it. And then we send them off to college and hope that they have all the tools. In an ideal world, sex ed would start at pre-K and go straight through 12. And we would continue to reiterate those messages if people choose to go to, a four-year college or any type of post high school, whether that's you go to an institution or not, you have access, even if it's community sex ed, where you can get questions answered. You would be surprised how many young people that I taught in high school still slide in my DMs asking for clarifications about something about their body. And in my head, I'm like, you haven't seen a gyno at this big age, but perhaps you still don't feel comfortable talking to, your gynecologist about this challenge that you're having with your body or questions that you have. And so it should be continual across the lifespan. It should, all identities should feel welcome and accepted. And it is something that literally, there's like so many topics that I can think of that can be included, but those are the main things. They should be evidence informed and culturally relevant to the community.
I love that. Sex ed should be a life skill or should be viewed as a life skill and
It
leveraged
should.
in that way.
It should. Even if a person chooses to never have sex in their entire life, it's still information that they should know.
You touched on this a bit around the culturally relevant settings or having programs and information that's culturally relevant.
Mhm.
How does one ensure that culturally relevant and developmentally appropriate content is
Mm.
created for diverse school settings?
Yeah, such a great question. That's really why I got into this work and what excited me about this work. So I think firstly, in a lot of the curricula, like a lot of states, specifically counties, because in many places there aren't really requirements at the state. It'll be like teach health. And then at the county level, they have more specific things. A lot of counties in this country will have clauses that say that there should be a committee that has parents, teachers, and young people that review curriculum on a biannual basis or whatever the basis is to make sure that it's good. And I think that the easiest way to make sure that something is culturally relevant is to have youth voice incorporated. Our young people should be reviewing the lessons and providing feedback to school districts, superintendents, etc., to update curricula to make sure that it still works, right? Some of the curricula that's being used is old, respectfully, right? It's old, it's antiquated. The videos are from 1992 where people's cell phones are as big as this book, right? And so young people are looking at these videos that perhaps have really relevant information, laughing at the baggy jeans that the person has on, right? And so I think if we can have young people have a seat at the table, not for tokenism, but really to share their feedback so that curricula reflects the population. And I know that can be challenging, but sometimes it could be a simple fix of changing the names and scenarios, right? So maybe you can't go through, maybe the school district doesn't have the capacity to go through and change every single lesson, but relevant scenarios. I know where I went to high school, there were certain names that did not Jake, that may not work for everybody, right? But if the scenario says Tyrone and Tamara, wow, that feels a little bit more relevant, perhaps, for the people that I'm serving. Or maybe there's a non-binary. Maybe we're using pronouns like they, them in our scenarios. And so I just think there's such an opportunity, and sometimes I think school districts think it's an arduous task, like, it's really gonna be hard for them to make this thorough edit, but have young people help, pay them, and I think you'd be surprised how much input they have, because there are things that us as adults, we just don't get, right? Like, and also including them in the activities. Hey, create a TikTok. You know, the girls love TikTok. Create a TikTok teaching people X. You'd be surprised at the amazing work that they can come up with. So I think one way for sure is getting young people to the table.
I fully agree with that. I think we need to continually make space for young people, their ideas, and giving them space to be messy in creating those ideas and solutions. And to your point, I don't even know what the words are that the young people are using these days. So like
Wait,
having
what?
that input from somebody that's in that community that could really like make a message resonate just that much more could really
Right.
increase like the effectiveness or efficacy of some of this work that's going on.
Absolutely. Yep.